And of course, remember that this hashtag is AskI2M for Mike. Now, some of you may or may not know this, but when I started up in business, I actually only had £100. I'd been made redundant from my job. I actually hadn't given much thought to saving any money or even investing it, to be fair. But when I was at my last £100, I began to panic because I didn't want to work for anyone else, and I actually didn't want to be pigeonholed into a particular type of role where I couldn't necessarily share my views without feeling some kind of critique or having someone actually question my authority as an expert in my field, which was how I was known also in the world of employee status. I've been in business now for 6+ years, and what I did with that £100 was I decided to actually start my business sharing my expertise and doing things like events and live training sessions. And also I started up a podcast. More recently, I've written a book, and I'm now a mentor for the likes of NatWest Bank and Virgin Business Startup and the Sherry Blair Foundation. But it's been a journey. And with that £100, the very first thing I did, which actually some of you may even question now, I certainly would, is I built a website as a functioning place that people could go to where they could actually access content and information about me, how I can help people, useful tips. A few videos were on there at the time, and information that would actually help people to connect with me. Now, a few years later, my advice on this has been improved, because if you are starting your business, the first thing you do not need is a website. Okay, the first thing you do not need is a website. You can just simply build a web page. All right, now a web page could be a LinkedIn page, a company page on LinkedIn, or just having a profile on LinkedIn with a bespoke URL. You can also have a page on Twitter if you're that way inclined, or even Instagram, where you can create things like an online shop and also have things like live stream videos and things like that for people to connect with you. So things have really moved on in the last 6+ years. But when I started, I actually used all my money, minus £10, actually creating a website. So I don't have any regrets, but certainly lessons learned there for me, because what I could have done is created some print materials and maybe done some distribution or even hosted an event. Okay, so there are alternatives. If you have a small budget, listen keenly. What I'm going to share with you now are some quick tips. So I started on £100, and over the last 6+ years, I've really built my brand to a position where actually, even when I'm abroad now in the Caribbean, people recognize me because I'm quite visible online, and I also speak at events and get paid to deliver training and contracted to do work for other suppliers as a branding and marketing expert. As I said, that's how people have branded me. So what I wanted to share with you right now on this particular audio is just a few tips that I know will help you if you're in business and you're currently wanting to improve your brand and marketing. So here goes. First thing you need is a photograph of yourself, one that you're happy with, one that you're comfortable with. Now, it doesn't have to be a headshot with a white background. It doesn't have to be a professional photo. It could be one that you've taken yourself. Now, something as simple as a tripod on a stand, on auto timer, where it flashes every 10 seconds, every 3 seconds, and maybe your camera can take photos for you. That will suffice. So if you don't have money to get a professional photographer, make sure you look professional in your photo, or make sure you're comfortable with the photo you're going to take. And of course, make sure that you are showing eye contact to the camera and that you are able to use that as a professional photo, so that if you're invited to speak on the radio, or you're invited to do an event, or you're even hosting an event, or you just want people to connect with you, you have a picture of yourself. Okay, now that's the best practice. If you don't want to yet use your video, your photo, then that's absolutely fine. I would say to you, if you're anxious about using a picture of yourself, then what you definitely want to do is look at how you can actually create perhaps a logo. If you haven't already got one designed, create a logo. And you can create logos in many different ways, okay? In many different ways, using different tools or even hiring a professional. I would say if you're in it for the long term, definitely invest in a logo being done if you can, all right? And if you can't, then look at different options. If you want tips on how you can produce logos DIY style, then let me know. So you need a professional photo or some kind of headshot. You need to have a logo, all right? And you need to have a web page. You don't necessarily need a website, but you need to have a web page, okay? And some of you may remember that when I started my Inspire Your Biz events, what I did was I actually used my facebook.com facebook.com/inspire your biz as the main page for people to connect with me. So I didn't have a website, but I used facebook.com/inspire your biz as the page, the main page where people could find out about my events, people could find out about my products and services. So if you don't have the budget to do a website, or you're not ready to do a website yet, remember you can create a bespoke URL, okay, that people can connect with you on, and that URL just needs to be a / and your company name. Keep it short and sweet. Make sure that it's relevant to where you're trying to go with your brand in the long term. Don't make it too clever, all right? Make it really easy to remember, okay? So there I've shared with you a few tips on that, okay? If you haven't yet thought about LinkedIn, that's definitely something I would recommend, either as a web page where you can advertise what you do as a company or as an expert in your field, but also just as a business page for you to connect with new people, suppliers, manufacturers, staff, potential customers, okay? Because LinkedIn is a brilliant portal that you can use. And actually LinkedIn, if you're looking to connect with suppliers or contractors or get new clients in, it's a really good way to actually connect with people online. There are thousands, in fact, there are billions of people on LinkedIn. And any of you that have ever done training or coaching with me will know I'm very passionate about this platform, because a simple search can reveal, even at a local level, people that are interested in what you have to say or share or sell. All right. So if you want to connect with people that are interested with what you have to say or share or sell, LinkedIn is a great starting point. And also in terms of search engine optimization, which is you being found online, aside from Amazon, aside from YouTube, LinkedIn is definitely up there in terms of you being found easily. So create a LinkedIn page, even if you're not actively posting on it. But if you can actively post on it, of course, that is really, really good for your business. Now, the other thing I want to say is that if you don't yet have a business email, that's important. Now, if you do go for a website, if you do have a website address, then you may want to consider how you can book your or reserve a business email address, even if you're not using it straight away, to actually get people to email you at a more professional looking email address. A lot of us start off with Gmail. I did with Inspire Your Biz, but I made sure that for my main core business, which was Insight to Marketing, right? Insight, the number 2 in marketing. I made sure that people could connect with me via the info@email. And more recently, I've actually created other elements to that email to reflect team members that I'm working with. So I've got I've got name at Insight to Marketing. All right. So definitely look at how you can actually create an email address that's professional. It's very important in terms of brand perception that you have a professional email address. So do consider that and how you're showing up at the minute in terms of your brand and some of the things you might want to get sorted out in the initial stages. If you're not already using analytics, this is also something that I would definitely consider, because brand perception, even, monitoring in terms of website link hits, clicks through to your pages, very, very important. So think about analytical tools. There are lots of analytical tools out there. So do think about how you are measuring and tracking your success. Okay. I have always been passionate from day dot of being in business about data and analytics, because when I worked for larger corporations, international brands, medical companies and so on, I had to deliver results. And so I'm a very results orientated individual, and I always encourage my clients and anyone that I connect with to actually ensure that you yourselves are monitoring your results. So looking at things like website hits, the time of day, when you're actually doing, business content you're sharing, ages or demographics of people that are visiting your pages, who it is you're connecting with in terms of socio-economic rationale. These are the kinds of things you want to be monitoring, because believe it or not, if you fine tune, right, your marketing based on analytics, you're going to have the perfect recipe for success. So do look at what you're doing in terms of your analytical tools. All right. Now, if you don't have a business phone, again, something I would definitely suggest you have. Having a business phone separate to perhaps your personal mobile is important. Now, some of you, and you can let me know via the comments box with the number 1, may do business via WhatsApp. Okay. Now, I don't really like WhatsApp for business. Never really been into it, but I've noticed that as there was a trend with, changing over social media platforms, is that people are actually now using WhatsApp more. So if you're using a business phone for business purposes, WhatsApp can be used on your business line. Definitely recommended. If you're not doing that, then make sure that you do look at that as an option, or even with SMS text, but have your business phone separate to your main personal line. It's important because then you've got a level of professionalism when you answer the phone, and also if you are, for example, leaving a voice message or people want to leave you a message, it means that you can actually have a more professional sound on your voice message when you leave it. All right, so can you just give me a number 1 in the comments box if you can hear me okay, just so that I know, because I can see that my reception might be dipping in and out a little bit. That would really help me, as it may be that I need to redial back in. So having a business line is important. That way you can promote it. There are different options around the types of business line you might have. 0845, 0800, a mobile number, a landline. This really is up to you. So, do make your inquiries and make sure that you're using a telephone provider that is reliable, and also that you are getting value for money in terms of any call charges and free call minutes and so on. If you haven't got a business bank account, again, this is quite surprising. I went to an event in Birmingham, and actually a lady had a stall set up. She was selling some amazing jewelry, and we just had a conversation after I came off stage. I was speaking at the event, and I asked her, you're a registered business, how long have you been trading? And do you know, this woman didn't have a business bank account. She hadn't even registered her business yet. So I know that some of us are in business without a business bank account and without being registered. If that's you and you're listening, or you know someone who may be in this situation, definitely encourage them for tax purposes to actually organize themselves so that they have all of their legal side covered. All right, very, very important. So if you haven't got a business bank account, if you're not registered, do look at that ASAP. And more importantly, if you're hosting events with exhibitors, do check out who you've got exhibiting at your events, just for your own brand credibility as well. All right. Okay. Something that I have recently invested in is a virtual assistant. So if you can get help with showing up and being more, accountable in terms of your admin and, being available in terms of diary management, do invest in a virtual assistant. I would definitely encourage that if you can afford it. That's something that you might want to consider early on, particularly if you are currently struggling for time. It will massively help you. All right. Now, the other thing I would say to you as well is, okay, I can see that the connection is okay. All right. So if you haven't already got a marketing plan, that's definitely something else I would consider as important. So you definitely want to look at that. Just getting a plan and having an idea of the tactics you can use to build your business and grow it and generate sales, important. Getting that clarity and making sure that you're clear on why you're using the resources you're using, the tactics you're using, the budget that you might need to implement certain, strategies and tactics, but also the results and outcomes you expect to get, which should look like either sales or leads, repeat customers, hits to your website, and so on. You may have a mixture of non-financial and financial goals, but in any case, have a marketing plan that will help you in terms of. The connection's quite bad, so I'll just finish up with saying the final thing I would suggest that you look into, aside from having a budget, is actually looking at having some kind of way of managing your customer data. Now, dare I say it, if you haven't yet got your GDPR sorted out and it applies to you, depending on what country you're watching from, then do make sure that you've checked out the GDPR or the relevant data protection policies that relate to your country, okay? Having a customer relationship management tool or a way of storing customer data is important if you are in this for the long haul. Okay, so aside from doing your research, aside from budgeting, aside from having a marketing plan, aside from having a database or some way of recording your customers and, their behaviors and transactions with you, I have also mentioned having a business bank account, registering your company, outsourcing and using a virtual assistant or other types of professionals to help you with things like HR or even accounting. Also having a professional email, I mentioned earlier, a business phone, a way to analyze your success. And also I did stress to you the importance of being on social media and having a web page. So maybe having something like LinkedIn or Facebook if you don't yet have a website where you can promote your products and services. But also, as I mentioned right at the start, if you've got a solid logo